In vain I have struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you.
What? 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 Did he really propose to her right now? Did he really propose to her right now? Let me give you all the reasons why he can't be with her. Hey, Ryan! Hey, Ryan! Calm down, Kevin. Let me just ask the judges why he can't be with her, using your reasons. She is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me, and I am in no humor at present to give consequence to young ladies who are slighted by men. This is the first reaction when he sees Elizabeth. At first he ridicules her and begins to point out that she is of a lower class, and that a person of higher class such as he can never be tempted. Jane Austen uses a point of view in order to project her views about the society she lives in. She views her society to be rigid and too subjective to the social class. Just as Mr. Darcy was prejudiced against Elizabeth from the beginning, Jane Austen feels as though she suffers from the prejudiced views of her society. Mr. Darcy had first scarcely allowed her to be pretty. He had looked at her without admiration at the ball, and when they next met, he looked at her only to criticize. Alright, hold up. Let me give you reason number 2 why he can't be with her. Here, we see that Mr. Darcy is starting to fall for Elizabeth, a person of lower class, but due to social class, he tries to ignore her and only criticize her. The English society is acting like a wall for Mr. Darcy, because he literally tries to force himself to block Elizabeth out of his mind. Jane Austen uses a third-person point of view in order to describe the actions of Mr. Darcy. By doing this, Jane Austen is able to reveal how in her days people thought way too highly of their rep. She felt as though vanity was a big part of her society and was all caused by the difference in social ranking. And because of this, I believe Mr. Darcy shouldn't be with Elizabeth. He wisely resolved to be particularly careful that no sign of admiration should now escape him, nothing that could elevate her with the hope of influencing his facility, sensible that if such an idea had been suggested, his behavior during the last day must have material weight in confirming or crushing it.
Even here we can see that the relationship between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy is at a standstill because he's worried about what other people might think about his love. Jane Austen makes Mr. Darcy use a restraint tone because he tries not to show any sign of fondness towards Elizabeth. A person of the upper class in love with someone from the lower class would bring rumors and scandals. Jane Austen reveals how she thinks the society in which she lived in thought too much about a person's actions. Because Mr. Darcy is too thoughtful about what others might think, I believe he has no chance of being with Elizabeth.
His sense of her inferiority, of its being a degradation of the family obstacles which judgment had always opposed to inclination, will dealt on with the warmth which seemed due to the consequence he was rounding, but was very unlikely to recommend his suit.
I agree with Nicky. Mr. Darcy is talking about why he had to convince Mr. Bingley of marrying Jane. Although he talks about another couple, this insight reveals how the family in different social classes affects his own intimate relationship. Because of the different family classes, Mr. Darcy was also hesitant to announce his love for Elizabeth. Jane Austen uses Mr. Darcy's family to reveal the theme of family pride. A family of higher class like Mr. Darcy's would have been applauded if their son was marrying to a woman of lower class, like Elizabeth, because the family reputation would get ruined. A person like Mr. Darcy, who cares so much about his reputation, should not have the right of marrying a person like Elizabeth.
The situation of your mother's family, though objectionable, was nothing in comparison of that total want of propriety, so frequently, so almost uniformly betrayed by yourself, by your 3 sisters, and occasionally even by your father.
I too agree with Nicky and Jennifer, because in this quote, Mr. Darcy explains why he had to bring the 2 lovers apart, Jane and Mr. Bingley. He indirectly lists the reasons why his relationship with Elizabeth was hard at first and explains why he could not show his true affections for her due to her family. Jane Austen uses this chance to use indirect characterization to expose the faults in families in the societies that she lived in. Many of the families never wanted to marry for love, but for money and financial security. By using this device, she explains why she wants a society to change the way they think and marry for true love. I too agree that Mr. Darcy should think about true love instead of thinking about what other people thinks about him.
Well, there you have it, America. Due to Kevin and his reasons, the judges have all voted and said that Mr. Darcy is not fit for Elizabeth. Now let's go back to the clip and see how Elizabeth takes on this proposal by Mr. Darcy.
You're mistaken, Mr. Darcy. The motive of your declaration merely spared me any concern I might have felt in refusing you had you behaved in a more gentlemanlike manner. You could not have made me the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. From the very beginning, your manners impressed me with the fullest belief of your arrogance, your conceit, and your selfish disdain for the feelings of others. I had not known you a month before I felt you were the last man in the world whom I could ever marry.
All right, all right, all right. Yeah!